My name is Marty Stern, and I am the president of the Men's Club of Beth Israel. Every month, it has been our tradition to have a guest speaker to talk about some topic of interest to our congregation. In the past, we have had university professors, politicians, and many people who were prominent in one field of endeavor or another. Last month, we had a San Diego doctor, our very own Dr. Jess Mandel. By our very own, I mean member of this congregation, discussing the COVID crisis. Next month, we hope to have a history topic about how the Philippines tried to assist Jews during the Holocaust. This evening, we have a very special guest speaker, our very own Rabbi Jason Nevarez. Rabbi Nevarez is a graduate of the University of Michigan, who then went to study at the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion in New York to become a rabbi. Prior to coming here, he served as a rabbi in Bedford, New York. As a part of his rabbinic work, he has been involved in outreach programs in education and social justice work in both Israel and parts of Latin America. Rabbi Nevarez just finished his first year here at Congregation Beth Israel. And finally, after a full year, he gets to lead our actual congregation in person, instead of just our virtual congregation through the internet. Friday nights, as I hope everyone knows, are now open to all who wish to come. You don't need a reservation anymore. Although with the changing times, you can still watch our services on the internet. Without any further ado, Rabbi Nevarez, you can unmute, and we are yours.
Hey. Thank you, Marty, and welcome. Good evening to everyone. I know Sai was very happy when we called that U of M. He's feeling good, right? We are fellow alum here, just 2 years apart, and it's an honor to be here with all of you tonight. The first most important piece of what I'm going to present is the first segment of our time together tonight, which is the installation of our new board for our Beth Israel Men's Club. So we have a number of people who are here. There may be a few that aren't, that couldn't make it this evening. July is a hard month, and I want to be very open about this. What I'm noticing, and I can just tell you anecdotally, is that individuals are starting to have what we call a post-COVID travel crisis. They're realizing they want to get out of Dodge, and so all of a sudden, people who've committed to things are, 2 days later they're headed off to travel. So which is wonderful, because I think that's really good, and I think sometimes it leaves us in the lurch, going, where is everybody? But I can tell you, if you've been to services, our services are full. Things have been going well, so. We'll continue to nurture that and see where it leads us. But High Holy Days is very early this year, as we'll discuss. So there's a lot. Hopefully everybody will be back in August, and we could have some more in-person experiences together. So here we are on July 14th, and the Men's Club has selected members to lead them through this upcoming year. And through their leadership, we hope and we pray that all of the participants of Men's Club will continue to dedicate and rededicate themselves to the sacred mission of this wonderful organization, ever providing opportunities for service, for social connections, and programs that enrich their lives through the lens of Jewish identity. And first, I want to acknowledge that our leaders for this upcoming year of 2021 through 2022, serving as esteemed president, we have Marty Stern. For our first vice president, we have Steve Laufer. Second vice president, Jay Berkowitz. Treasurer, Arnie Schoenberg. And Secretary Sanford Chaffney. So did I get everybody that is on our executive committee here correctly? Marty, is that correct?
Sanford Shane.
Sanford Shane, yep. And then we have joining these officers on the board are Matt Bassick, Sherwin Friedman, Bruce Hilbrun Herb Lubick, and Rob Rubin.
Yes.
Okay. We also want to acknowledge the past presidents in good standing who continue to serve on the board as past presidents. So they are currently on the board. It means we may have more past presidents here, but these are currently on board. We have Louis Galper, Sheldon Kruger, Jim Malkus, and Phil Valfer. And as leaders of our men's club, it is your obligation, your sacred obligation, to exercise judgment and Jewish values in all that your duties call on you to do. We pray and hope that you are endowed with creativity and with commitment, with resilience, with newness and insight. We ask God's blessings upon those who have been elected to lead and serve the men's club. As they perform their duties, we ask that you keep them mindful of the importance of a vibrant, caring, engaging, and compelling organization. For the men of Beth Israel, those who identify as male, as these leaders strive to achieve their goals, may they inspire those who have not yet discovered the men's club to do so, helping others see the true joy and fulfillment from associating with the men of this congregation. May their labors reflect honor on our congregation, upon our Jewish identities and heritage. May they guide the men's club from strength to strength. May the leaders serve in good health and blessing. For those leaders who have been named, I invite you to unmute, and do you accept the charges and privileges and responsibilities that are set before you? Say, I do.
I do.
I do.
Friends, you are officially installed as our 21-22 board. May you be sustained by God's Spirit, and may God grant you your labors, that they continue to be a blessing and a source of blessing to us all, our greater community, as we say together, Amen.
Amen.
And I sing, Simmin Tov and Mazel Tov and Mazel Tov and Simmin Tov, Simmin Tov and Mazel Tov and Mazel Tov and Simmin Tov, Simmin Tov and Mazel Tov and Mazel Tov and Simmin Tov. Yehelanu, 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 Ulechol Yisrael. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, Ulechol Yisrael. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, Ulechol Yisrael. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, Ulechol Yisrael. Mazel tov to all of you. Mazel tov. Not small shoes to fill in these times. I think the importance of those to come together and congregate is critical now as any greater than any other time. This is a time where we really need community physically as much as spiritually to nourish ourselves and our souls. So I look forward to working with all of you over this coming year. The first thing I want to acknowledge after this installation is the recent passing of our wonderful, wonderful Cantor Emeritus, Shelley Merrill. We had his funeral, we officiated his funeral on Monday with just family members gathered. It was a beautiful, thoughtful, inspiring tribute to a man 97 years young who I know all of you know and love deeply. And I think that we know we will be having a memorial for the congregation, but at the family's request, to have this special small interment ceremony. It was very beautiful. I know Rabbi Stein, who's here, was also participated and led beautifully as well. Just so honored to hold all of the of his insights and his just hearing the love that's generated there. And he truly was a tzaddik, a righteous individual. And I think that we can hold that in our hearts and feel very proud that we were under his spiritual guidance for many years. So we honor him in this moment. And he would not want us to stop he would want us to continue going. So that's what we're going to do tonight, and we're going to continue going. And I really want this to be a discussion more than just my presentation. I get to present all the time. I really want to be in conversation with you. And that's why when talking with our men's club leaders, I was really thinking about having the conversation, and we said, let's keep it informal and not have a formal presentation. There'll be many opportunities to speak to you in scholarly, academic, or in spiritual spaces. Right now, I wanted to share with you a little about what's going on at the synagogue and my own thoughts after a year serving as your senior rabbi, and also what's going on in the greater San Diego community, I think Jewish community and the greater community, and then really leave it open to you to ask some questions and some thoughts. Does that sound okay? Sounds good? Great. So we have some board members that are on, I know, on this session right now, and I invite you when we have some open time to share as well, if you'd like. I want to share that the current state of our congregation is strong. It is vibrant, and we are moving through and into a new normal. We're trying to figure out how to navigate the tail end of a pandemic and moving from a virtual space to a physical space and creating what we call diverse access, which means that we have to hold our virtual community with our physical community. And it sounds relatively simple, but I can tell you on the back end, it is nowhere near simple, where there's a lot of navigating and managing both spaces, whoever is managing those spaces. For example, the staff, the clergy, lay leaders, some of you who will be leading us in Torah study and in Minyan, those individuals have really learned a lot to navigate what is going to be a new normal and is going to take us through this time and beyond. I see the virtual space being a regular space where people are going to dwell, and that needs to be something that's going to be part of the fabric of the congregation moving forward. So we are investing time, energy, and money into creating quality, diverse entry experiences. So you're going to notice that there are going to be different technologies that are going to be used as soon as we head back into the sanctuary after the summer services, where you're going to be noticing when we have different sessions, Torah study and Minyan. Many of our rooms have been retrofitted to have access, to have video access. We have portable systems that are allowing us to be flexible in different classroom environments. And it is very exciting on one hand, and there's also a lot of training that's involved. So we're working on that, and that has been a major focus of right now our time. We're working with in addition is how do we effectively bring people back? Now, I should say, some people have said, oh, the synagogue is now reopened. And I want to be very clear. I've been in the synagogue all year. We've been open. And in fact, there has been no one day when we've had less than 160 people on campus, because we have had our preschool and our teachers and our faculty and Torah High that rents space on our campus every single day except for the weekends, and holidays. So that has been something that has been operating all year ever since the end of June. So our campus has been fully functional, but now we're starting to bring back meetings, committees, bringing back Torah study and Minyan as of July 24th. We have services in full force, and though many of you have been already, and so you know what those experiences have been like, and it's been quite wonderful. And as Marty mentioned, it's the first time, I am feeling like this is my first year, that this is an opportunity to really be in full relationship with each of you. The wonderful thing is that I've gotten to know so many of you virtually, and getting to see you not in 2-dimension, rather in 3-dimension, has been wonderful. But I already know many of your stories. I know what's going on in your lives. I get to share that, and I think there's an overwhelm. People are like surprised that I know this information, but sitting with you on a screen may not be as powerful as the punam to punam experiences in real time, but they are very meaningful. So I've had the opportunity to really lean into those. And that has been very, very special. So I felt that even though there was a limit to the ability for me to come on into the congregation in the ways that I would have wanted to, there's also some blessing in this, that I've gotten time, more individual time with many people, so to really hear about what's going on. And if I haven't had that time with you yet, I welcome it. So this is not saying it's one and done. We are in the continuation of building relationships. And so I look forward to any of you that want to make appointments, lunches, dinners, breakfasts. I have to maintain my exercise regimen in order to maintain all those lunches and dinners and breakfasts. So I need some time there too. But I welcome the opportunity to connect with you. I would say also our school and our congregation continues to grow. Our membership numbers entering into this coming year, academic year, are higher than anticipated. So we're very excited about that. We have new families and new individuals and couples joining. Very excited. We have different kinds of different faces of individuals joining also. We have Jews of color. We have individuals from the LGBTQ communities. We have created an atmosphere where people feel welcome and appreciated, no matter what their age or stage in life. And so we are really feeling that as people are joining the congregation. So Bethany has given us some good reporting, and I've met a number of those new families as well, which has been very exciting. Some of them have joined Torah study. We want to get more to join Men's Club. We want them to be active. I want to share a little bit with you about the community, and then I can come back to anything that you want to know, but I want to share with you a little bit more. When I came here, I did an informal audit of relationships between Beth Israel and our neighboring Jewish community. They're strong. Many of our people are board members and trustees in other organizations and are helping to lead other organizations, from the Jewish Academy to the Federation to JFS, or many others that we're involved with. We have strong relationships and ties with all those organizations. So the work inside the Jewish world is already strong, and we can continue to strengthen it. The work outside of the Jewish world, however, is not as strong. So my focus this year has been meeting with new members of different multi-faith groups, different Christian communities, especially Black Christian communities, looking to build some bridges that have not been built yet, and all of them opportunities. The good news is that those relationships are beginning to be cultivated and very exciting for us. We have great partnerships on the horizon and things that are already being established. Our work with Father Joe's continues to increase. In addition to the Hunger Project, we're looking at creating more opportunities and partnerships with Deacon Vargas and on Father Joe's. I know that many of you have read that Father Joe actually passed away this couple of days ago. Our congregation is currently working to make a nice donation in memory and in honor of all the work that Father Joe has done. So we continue to have strong relationships with Father Joe's, and I have been blessed to go and visit the campus and see the new buildings that are being constructed for affordable housing, which has been very exciting. We are looking to reimagine our Israel initiatives. We're trying to get out of the framework of having it just be about the matzav, or the situations, or the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. We're trying to bring back historical, regional, musical, culinary experiences and understandings around Israel, so that our youngest, from any stage of life, can appreciate the land and the people and the history and the culture of Israel. We're launching aside from the Platt trip, which we do annually, which will be reignited in December, where we're going to Israel with 11th and 12th graders, I am running our first Israel trip for the congregation at the end of October, late October 2022. So next year, there will be a new trip, and that information will be unveiled during High Holy Days. And I hope some of you will join. It will also include a United Arab Emirates add-on possibility to Dubai or Abu Dhabi. So that is going to be very exciting this year, next year. Already working with our planners and my guide and friend on that upcoming experience. And if you're interested, you can even write in the chat, and I'll make sure I'll take your information down and give it to Leanne, because we're starting to keep a list of people who are interested. So I'm very excited to get people connected to Israel, not just in the ways of the current events, but also in ways where they can holistically appreciate the land and the people. So we're working on those experiences, not only going there, but also other virtual opportunities and speakers of all different types as well throughout the coming year. So very excited about that. We are reimagining the pedagogy and the curriculum that we do early on, so that Israel can be front and center for our youngest children, and we can start to teach them early about finding love and appreciation for Israel. I think that we're facing a new kind of anti-Semitism, which is creating a lot of the anti-Zionism is creating anti-Semitism. And so we're facing a lot of that, and we're having to respond to it. And the best way to respond to it, in my opinion, is education. So one of the ways that we're going to be doing that is not only working with college campuses and the like, but we're also going to be working with our youngest students to start to educate them a little more to find love and appreciation for Israel. So very excited about that. And in addition to the multi-faith work that we're doing, we're also establishing partnerships with the Interfaith Community Services, ICS in North County. So that some of you are already involved in that, but our synagogue has not been involved in Interfaith Community Services. So we will be involved in one of their partners coming this year, and we're very excited about that because they offer a lot of opportunities through our Social Action Committee is taking a lead in starting to work on some of those initiatives. Our clergy team is going strong. Rabbi Bernstein, who we know and love dearly, is entering into her 25th year of the congregation. So hush, hush, maybe we'll do something special for her later in the year. But we're very excited about honoring her tenure. Rabbi Gimbel was promoted to Associate Rabbi and has earned that title very, very much so, especially in this year that I've come and see him evolve and grow, and we're excited that he will continue to lend his strengths and gifts to the congregation. Our staff are doing incredibly well. Leslie, my partner in crime, is managing the house as best as she always does. And Dan Jones, our new president, has been wonderful. And the three of us are starting to engage different organizations to start on ultimately with the board and with a group, a strategic visioning process for the congregation that will look very different than any previous strategic visioning that we've done. This will not be boilerplate and cookie cutter. This will be a different type of look at Judaism of the 21st century, Judaism 21st century San Diego, what that looks like, and how we can remain ahead of the game in terms of not only being relevant Jewishly, but also leading Jewishly. That's very important for me. I really believe that Beth Israel should be leading initiatives and experiences in the Jewish community, and we should be the organizing body of many of them. I'm all about partnerships, as you know. I think that we have a role, and people look to us as the biggest and the oldest Jewish community in San Diego, and we have a role to fulfill. And so I look at that as a sacred obligation, and we're going to continue to do so. I feel I can't speak to the finances of the community. That's not my role, but I can say we're doing okay, and I won't go any further than that. And then we have some real things ahead of us. We have projects that have to be done. We have a 20-year-old campus that we have to start to maintain a little more aggressively. And so we're going to be doing some work over this coming year to think about how we do that. And that's all going to be tied into our strategic visioning process. We are looking to strengthen and grow our auxiliaries as Men's Club and Women of Beth Israel. I'm very excited to announce that we will have our inaugural Torah on tap, which will be on August 11th. We're very excited about it. More information will be coming, and we're looking to really engage all of you, but also different, also new and people who have not been part of Men's Club necessarily, and who would like to join. So, giving them a little nosh and drink and a little teaching. I can tell you, I've done this program for a number of years and brought it to my previous congregation. It was widely successful, and I'm looking forward to continuing it here and growing it here. And I think that's going to be a lift for the Men's Club as well. And I'm really excited. High Holy Days are coming. Our plan as of today is full on access to our campus and physical services, always with live stream options. Always, every service will be live streamed, so there's no concern if you're not in town or visiting family, or you're just not ready to come back to campus. We understand that, and so we're making all considerations for that, and we will be providing all kinds of live stream opportunities for you. And our services will look mostly like they did pre-pandemic, with some subtle changes. And the subtle changes are really around speaking to, they're not going to change the later services, which I know many of you go to. We will have full adult choir. We will have even probably more instrumentalists this year. And we're very excited about that. And the opportunities to enrich the liturgical offerings are going to be employed. So we're excited, but everything will look very similar to what it looks like before. I can tell you this year we'll be speaking on major topics like anti-Semitism, like Israel. Other topics will be discussed in sermons. So we look forward to getting some of your food for thought and feedback from those, because my goal is really to use the sermon as a launching pad for different initiatives that we do in the congregation. So things that are relevant and necessary for us to discuss and act on. A sermon is as good as we can learn and grow from it. So for me, if we're going to share this with the congregation, how are we going to act upon it? So like last year when I spoke about racism, we started to do the anti-racism workshops and we've continued that work in different iterations. When we're talking about some of the issues that have been prevalent and pervasive in the Jewish community this year, I want us to own these as a congregation and for us to really talk about them. So I'm very hopeful you will be inspired and called to action as well at the same time. So looking forward to this year. I haven't begun writing yet, so I can't tell you what it's going to look like, but I can tell you that I've been reading and thinking and putting thoughts together. So we're very excited about it and excited about all the music that's going to be offered. We're excited about our offerings. I want to tell you that second day, Rosh Hashanah, while we will have a service in the morning, we are also going to be having an optional hike at 11 o'clock. So there will be an option for people, and more information will be forthcoming upon that. And so that's a new experience that we are offering this year. So we're excited about what that means, celebrating the birthday of the world, really connecting with nature, and there'll be some teaching along the way. So that will be an option for people if they're feeling like they want to get out and move on Rosh Hashanah. Also, Tashlich will be back at La Jolla Shores. Also very excited about that opportunity as well. I know many of you are probably as well. So all the pieces that you know are all coming back. And we're looking to what we learned last year with some of the elements that we used and infused into the services, and trying to maintain a few of those as well, so that we can be rich in our offerings. So let me see, anything else? I'm going to stop there because I just gave you an earful, and I want to hear from you. So that's a little bit of the state of what I have felt in this first year. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve and to continue serving as your rabbi. So Marty, yes, you're on mute.
Okay. Can you go into further detail to elaborate a bit on the new kind of anti-Semitism that exists in the world today?
Yeah. So I give it an answer. I call it anti-Semitism 2.0. We have, many of us are used and familiar to the anti-Semitism of Charlottesville, where Jews will not replace us, where the alt-right and the white supremacists are vying to, rid this country of Jews. We know that rhetoric. We're familiar with it. It's not new to us. It may be newer in the recent years that it's been unearthed as much as it has, but it's not new. The challenge with, as Marty asked, about the new anti-Semitism, which I'm going to address in more detail at High Holy Days, is the challenge of the progressive, ultra-progressive elements of our society, and not just politically, also in the social justice framework of those who many of our community sit shoulder to shoulder with to do the work that we've done the work with, fighting for immigration rights or correctional reform, or other issues that are prevalent to advancing society domestically, where the lenses and the challenge of what we call intersectionality has been at play, is that we are now having some elements of those circles have been connecting the issues of Israel, and Israel as the Goliath, not the David as it used to be, but the Goliath with the IDF and the military and all the pieces and the superpower that it is, and using that platform as one where it starts to be a us or them narrative. And then narrative gets very complex and it's nuanced, and there is so much more than just an us or them. And the challenge that comes with this is that some in these ultra left circles of social justice are sharing that if you are in some way in support of Israel, you can't do the work with us of social justice here. And that you're not really a social justice warrior. You're really just a fascist who's protecting the anti-Zionist regime of the apartheid state. And that to me is a new form of anti-Semitism, because it's really born out of anti-Zionism. And anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism are very different. They're not the same lens, although they've become conflated. Because in truth, it's hard to separate them. And it's hard for any of us to separate them. So the challenge that we face today is that from the right of the supremacists to the left of these ultra progressives who are pushing this anti-Zionist rhetoric, we are facing like bookends of anti-Semitism, which we've never done before. We always could rest solidly in the centrist realm, and also left of center, because, and I'm not just talking politically, I'm talking ideologically. So I want to be very clear. This is not a political, I'm not putting a political lens on it, even though it has its piece here. I'm talking about ideologically. We would be able to sit there, yet the challenge that we have today is that we have this bookends that are pressing against us today, and now we have to figure out how to navigate it. The ultra leftist ideology is pushing their narrative into college campuses, and those of even our CBI kids who have been to Israel, who have fallen in love with the Jewish state, have understood its place in society and the modernist ideology and the understanding that im tutsu ein zo agada, if you will it, there is no, it is not a dream. This is something that they were brought up with, are now talking about Israel as an apartheid state. I'm not saying everybody is. I'm saying these are samplings of individuals in our community that's the narrative. And I can tell you from the East Coast, it's the same thing. It's pervasive on college campuses, and now the fight is even stronger. And I hate to even call it a fight because I feel like that should not be our narrative. So the challenge is that while anti-Semitism used to be an outside issue of the other pushing against us, it's also internal. We have not only others outside calling anti-Zionism, anti-Semitism, or pushing against it. We have Jews who are pushing against it. We have Jews who are questioning their own Judaism and their own identity. And that is coming up daily. In every interaction, I'm seeing this. Not every interaction I have every interaction on this issue, I am seeing elements of this. That's a long answer to your question, but I wanted to give you a little bit of foundation. And when I write it down, it'll be much more clear, but I was just free flowing with these ideas and thoughts. And I think that just gives you a frame that basically from the right, from the left in an ideological perspective, we're being squeezed in a way we have never been before. There you go. Larry.
In the past, we've tried to keep extreme partisan politics out of the congregation.
Yeah.
But today, many issues like race that we have to, as Jews, have to face, and critical race theory suddenly becomes a serious political issue. How are we going to handle that?
It's a great question, and the Bimacom Courageous Conversations arena is where we're going to be parking these issues. And what I mean by that is that these are going to be issues we have to tackle in terms of the discussion. They're always going to be through a Jewish lens, though. But there are different understandings and ideologies behind it. Such critical race theory is much more complex and nuanced than it's reported on social media. There is much more to it, and someone cannot be in favor of critical race theory in schools while still be supportive and try to work towards being an anti-racist. There are ways in which there is so much complexity and nuance that we have to have forums that we can identify those nuances and try to make informed decisions on ourselves. But meanwhile, keeping the discussions respectful and dignified, and always committed to Jewish understanding. I don't see why we would be discussing these issues or tackling them as a Jewish community if we're not keeping Torah at the center. It doesn't make sense to me. You can go to the school, you can go to your congressperson, you can fight those issues there. But if we're going to bring it here, then I'm okay for there to be a Hillel and a Shammai. I'm okay for there to be different opinions here, as long as we can note and understand our dissent. That is okay with me. And I actually think it's part of it's part of how we operate in the world. This is really, really important. And I think we can do it. And so we're gonna see some of the issues we won't bring in here. And some of the issues I'll feel that there are other venues where that can be discussed. So not everything that's on the social landscape right now are things that we're going to be bringing into the core. But I can tell you that some of the issues we're dealing with right now more readily are surrounding anti-Semitism. And that has been the biggest lift right now of working in the community. getting our so-called partners in the interfaith community to really partner with us, getting those voices seen and heard, and having them stand with us, just like we run to stand with them anytime something happens. So that's just to give you a taste, Larry. But I believe we can do it respectfully, but it's always going to be through a Jewish lens. It will, if it's not going to be, we're not bringing it here. So I just want to put that out there. Right? It's an important question. Thank you. Jay.
Yes, you're exactly right when you say one way to fight anti-Semitism is through better education. And unfortunately, in our state of California, they're looking at curriculum changes in which Jews are being characterized as a privileged class or a white privileged class.
Yeah.
And that leads to jealousy, which leads to anti-Semitism. Is there anything the synagogue can do to challenge these changes in curriculum that are likely to lead to more anti-Semitism?
Yeah, it's a great question, Jay. We've actually been involved. Individuals have been involved in the congregation, and we've had groups involved, and our work has mostly been via the ADL in terms of fighting and working to change what has with the ethnic studies curriculum. That's what we're talking about. 4 iterations in, and 3 of those iterations took place before my tenure began. So the 4th iteration that I was involved in, letters that I've personally written. They've been discussions that I've had, and there have been actions that some of our congregants have been very vocal in taking on the state level. The challenge is that the voices there are many issues with the ethnic studies curriculum, not just Jewish ones. The Jewish ones are big. They were far worse. If you looked at the first version, almost looked like Jews were Ashkenazi, heteronormative individuals, and that's all they were, even though 44% of the state of Israel is considered non-white, by the way. And that they were all from Eastern Europe. The naivete that was shown in that iteration of the ethnic studies curriculum is, I can't even discuss I have a hard time speaking about it without expletives coming out. So let's just put it that way. It enraged me. And I don't get enraged pretty easily. I'm pretty even keeled with a lot of things. That piece really was very frustrating. The 2nd and 3rd versions came out. They were better. They gave a little more holistic view of who a Jew is, which I was proud to see. And I think that couldn't have been done without the work of the many groups and organizations that have been fighting this. And the 4th iteration came out, and they're saying this is the final one and that there will be no adaptations to it. Is still not good enough. It is better, but it's still not good enough. So I don't know if there have public, I don't know if any of you on the session have versions of it or have a version of this 4th version, but I will try to get it and share it with you, Jay, and maybe share it with the group. It has some issues in it, but it also has issues with many ethnic groups. It has lots of holes. But I can tell you, as a congregation, through social action, through other divisions of our education offerings that we have here, we have been working as a community to fight it. It's still the voices that are controlling the curriculum seem to be much stronger than our voices, which is it's almost unconscionable. Who's writing the curriculum? I don't even know who's writing the curriculum. Also, I have no idea who the authors are, and that's very frustrating. But we're working on it. And we'll continue to work on it and continue to fight it. But you should know that it is something that is at the forefront of the work of the ADL, and other organizations are really working on it daily. there are organizations that are solely focused on the ethnic studies curriculum. So that's their role in it through a Jewish lens. I hope that answers a little bit of the question. Not to maybe your satisfaction, not to mine either, but
No,
I just, but at
Thank
least you
you.
have some
No,
information.
I know there are other organizations active in it, like AMCHA.
Yeah,
But I'm glad to see that we're participating in the action to change that.
very much, absolutely. I think Arnold and Joan, right?
Yeah,
Hi.
just a quick comment about your previous discussion regarding the curriculum. First of all, the question is going to be if it's going to be mandated and how mandated it is. Like everything else, it's going to be who's going to adopt it and what are you going to do with it. So it's going to be up to the teaching in the classroom and individual teachers is how they deal with it, or how much they're ordered to deal with it. And we're still not an authoritarian enough society to require every teacher to teach the curriculum exactly the same way. So there's room for action internally, but it's still very disturbing. The question I was going to ask, however, has to do with Zionism. So this is a very theoretical question that just popped into my head while I was listening to you tonight. Thank you very much for the overview and the insights. So do we consider Zionism to still be a viable ideology? And how can you divorce it from the state of Israel?
If you want to.
I don't, it's a great question. I'm not sure I will be able to do it justice as much. I'm interested to also hear what Rabbi Stein has to say, because I'm sure he has some thoughts on this area. I can say, in my belief, I don't believe you can separate Zionism from the state of Israel, because Zionism was born out of the longing for a state, for a Jewish state. That the Theodor Herzl's dream, I don't believe, was the religious fanatics that we have attached to the state of Israel currently. It was actually for a secular state, right? A secular, democratic, Jewish state. And that has only partially come to be, right? Ben Gurion had to sell his soul to the Orthodox in order to establish the state of Israel, and thought that, 10 years down the road, there won't be any more Orthodox because it's going to be a secular state. He lost his bet. And now, so we have, and I believe some of the challenge that we have today, well, a lot of the past decade was born out of the religious fighting that was in the Zionist ideology. There are many forms of Zionism. There's political Zionism, religious Zionism, secular Zionism. So there's all these types of Zionism, but all of them still go back to the state of Israel, the modern state of Israel, and the yearning for a Jewish state. So I don't think it's possible to separate the two. But I'm interested to see what Rabbi Stein might have to say about it, if you're willing to share a thought or two.
Thank you for giving me a little bit of heads up. 2 days ago, I read an article that said that a recent census of younger Jews showed that 25% of them supported BDS, boycott, divestment, and sanction. Is that right?
The divestment sanctions movement. Yeah.
Now that, 10 years ago, Jews who supported BDS were way out on a limb. No more. And it has played havoc with the term Zionism.
Yep. For
the younger generation who don't understand Zionism with the passion that those of us, I was born in 48, but I grew up in a passionately Zionist synagogue. The Holocaust had just happened. That's not happening. It's not the fault. There is no fault. It's just sort of slowly diminishing. And Israel's behavior doesn't help.
No.
So I don't know if there's a future for the word. It's a really interesting question. There's certainly no future for the word as an unquestioned support of Israel. The American Jewish community just is not there anymore.
Yeah. I think Rabbi Stein said it beautifully. I think dovetailing off of his words, because it's such an interesting question, can the idea of Zionism, survive? I think for Zionism to have succeeded in transforming the Jewish condition, like it needed to do probably two things. So this is on one foot. I'm trying to figure this out here as I'm punting here. But this is giving me good food for thought for High Holiday sermon. So it's good. It's good. Thank you for being the sounding board here. It needed to normalize Jewish politics, in building a state whose imperfections, were a feature rather than a bug, right? And at the same time, it still had to enlist or I had to convince also the Jewish people of the importance of normalcy and normalization, right? And to find a new accommodation for Jewish people's, the discourse that we have in what we call exceptionalism, right? In a way that wouldn't messianize the state, but nor would it also be let down by it. So, it's pretty clear that the first project was a success, I would say, for better or for worse. But yet Israel is a state with many problems, right? Many of them are self-inflicted. And it's in good company with the rest of the nations of this world. It has spotty history and track record. It has and is not proving a success. In fact, probably the second part is proving more as a failure in my eyes right now. When you have 25% of American Jews, and I hinted to this before when Marty asked the question, agree with the statement that Israel is empirically an apartheid state. This is a witness to the continued Jewish obsession with exceptionalism, right? And so it can't be rendered as normal. It just can't be. And that is the worst imaginable grievance against the state. When you have 25% of diaspora Jewry saying that your homeland, your Jewish homeland that you could go to, by the way, and become a citizen if you choose just because one of your grandparents is Jewish, you have the right of return, that you are going to be, that your state, you believe, a quarter of you believe that it's an apartheid state. Wow. Right? I mean, think about that. This is not, and this is the piece that I've been trying to articulate, and I think I just found the niche to articulate it. But that is really key here. Like, to understand that internally, and this goes back to the question that Marty asked right at the beginning, this is the wedge that we face. We face a wedge where we have people internally, Jews internally, calling Israel an apartheid state. And yet you also, and that doesn't account for those who don't call it an apartheid state, but still believe it has lots of issues. So we have a real 70, almost 75 years later, almost 73 now. We have an issue of exceptionalism and what that means and how that contrasts with the idea of Zionism and how it becomes labeled as something that is racist and bigoted and exceptionalist. So that's on one foot. I hope that's a good addendum to the thoughts that Rabbi Stein added, but that's what I got there. I was feeding it. Go ahead, Sai. You're on mute.
I wanted to go back to your first 15 minutes in which you illuminated for many of the members here, the attendees,
Sure.
a State of the Union. As Jews, we know there are a myriad of problems, complexities, issues, and as Jews, we have answers to all of those. But I have always believed, I even spoke about it when I was giving my president remarks at the High Holy Days, that if we don't have a really solid, stable, strong synagogue with active, contributing, interested, concerned members, many of these ancillary issues that we're touching upon lose for me their importance. And the combination that is needed with that strong synagogue is an active, internalist and externalist individual who carries the title of Senior Rabbi. Someone who goes out and performs his responsibilities and takes a great interest and takes steps to integrate himself with the synagogue, its members, and someone who sits here and tells a small group of listeners that anytime you want to have lunch or dinner, because he wants to meet you. To me, that is a critical importance in any viable, vibrant synagogue. And I just want to say, Rabbi, that in my opinion, which certainly could be echoed and reaffirmed by Rabbi Stein, because he's heard this from me before, it makes us a great synagogue. And which I haven't always had. Synagogue is a roller coaster at times, but I have a tremendous level of confidence about what we are embarking on now that we're together again. And I think we're fortunate to have you in our community. And Marty, none of that is attributable to his education in Ann Arbor.
Guys.
maybe a little bit, yeah. So, you know, when I noticed because I went to Michigan for architecture, so when I noticed some of the elements of the building that need to be, you know, shifted or cleaned or whatever, or done with, I think that people are, some of our staff are a little bit like, why? How is he noticing these things? That's Ann Arbor. That got me Ann Arbor. But thank you, Sai, for those beautiful words. I really appreciate it. And I'm only as strong as the community is. You know, I believe that it's about all of us, and I'm just feeling blessed to lead. So this is my, you know, it's only, I'm here to serve. So that is, you know, a good leader knows when they're here to serve and when they're not, you know, and so I'm here to lead, but I'm really here to lead through what we call service leadership. And that's what I'm here for. So it is my honor. How are we doing on, I know we're reaching the end of our time here, right?
Are there any other questions from anyone? I can't, you know, because we're on a couple of different screens here.
Yeah.
Rabbi, any closing remarks, or are we done?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, this is one, I always want to continue these conversations. These questions that you're asking are really important ones, and they're timely. And we need that. We need your generation, and we need different generations to feed into it. So I'm really looking to your wisdom and your guidance and your, what we call zechut, you know, your identity as Jews and your pride to really move the needle and also become mentors for those who are up and coming, because we have some really good leaders on the horizon, and some of them need to be cultivated. And I really look to your wisdom and guidance in any way you can offer to share that. So I'm going to call on you. So when you get it, it's going to happen. So I'm looking forward to seeing all of you over the next couple of weeks. I'm actually, a week from today, I'm going to be I'm going to be on the East Coast on an island off the grid a little bit for about 2 weeks to regain my energy so that I can head into the high holiday season. But I'm looking forward to that. Oh, one other thing I did want to share is that for Elul, we are very, very excited to have Neshama Karbach is going to be our Elul, is going to do our Elul Master Series with each of the rabbis. So she's going to be in partnership with Rabbi Gimbo, Rabbi Bernstein, myself, and Nicole, my wife, who we're friends with Neshama. She's doing a 3-part series on Elul, and that's going to get us into the spirit of getting ready for the high holy days. We're very honored and excited to have her. It's a big deal. And so she's going to be working with us. So that will happen in August, beginning August 9th. So very excited. So I just wanted to share that with you. You're getting a preview before it actually gets put out. So I think it's out today in the bulletin. It started.
Rabbi, I want to thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to say thank you. And I just wanted to thank Marty and the board and the officers. First of all, Mazel Tov on your installation. And thank you for having me and letting me spew a little bit for a few minutes.
Rabbi, on behalf of the entire congregation and particularly the Men's Club, I want to thank you for being here this evening. Particularly the Men's Club thanks you for your blessing for us. That is deeply appreciated. I also want to thank Jay Berkowitz, who arranges these forums for the Men's Club. I need to thank Matt Bussick, who is our Zoom master. That is the way the world is going to be from now on. We will always be a bit of a hybrid. Please remember that our next speaker forum is on August 18th, a Wednesday evening at 7, when we will have a speaker enlighten us on the Philippines mitzvah of trying to assist Jews in escaping the Holocaust. Of course, I want to thank the audience tonight for joining us for this Men's Club sponsored event. Please remember to check out the weekly Temple email blast for other Temple events, including some of the many classes that the Adult Education Committee offers, particularly an event on August 11th, which will be run by the rabbi called Torah on Tap, which he mentioned briefly here. More information will be coming out on this and everything else later. I want to thank everybody again. Please stay healthy, stay safe, stay well. Have a good evening. Thank you for attending.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Marty.
Thank you.